Welcome to the very first episode of CoffeeX in English, the podcast where we brew conversations about entertainment, culture, traveling, and learning, with a splash of people's experiences from all corners of the world. I'm your host, Felipe Xavier, and I am thrilled to take you on this exciting journey. Yes, I'm reading this because I wrote the intro for the podcast. And today's episode, I have the most important guest this podcast will ever have, which is my wife, Paula Xavier. Hi, baby.
Hello, thanks for having me here. I'm very glad to be the first guest. And let's talk about what? English.
Yes, we're going to talk about English as a second language. And it's important to tell you guys that if you are listening to us through podcasts, what's the name of it? Podcasts. Platforms, thank you. Rate us with 5 stars on the ones you can. And if you are watching us on YouTube, you can like this video and share with people you like it. And yes, you are listening to this on YouTube as well and watching. So if you want to see us, we are on YouTube, right? On the channel CoffeeX in English. So thank you for being here with me, baby.
Thanks for having me.
On this project and on a new project. That finally, I have a podcast in Portuguese, which is called CoffeeX Podcast only. And I used to have a lot of these ideas of creating projects. And you helped me because you were like, no, don't start anything else until you make this one work.
Yeah, because he was like very excited about creating stuff, but he never like kept
the things didn't last, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm getting to my 4th or 5th year with CoffeeX podcast.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I started in 2019 and I'm in the 4th year. Yeah. And it worked. So now I'm starting another one, but it's kind of inside my podcast, but it's a different feed. It's a different channel for...
it's a different audience.
Yes, for English speakers. Okay. The idea is, for you that don't know us, we have Instagram account and a YouTube channel too, both of us, where we teach English to Brazilians. And we're going to talk about this a little bit, how English entered our lives and how it changed our lives, we could say that, and how much we appreciate this language that opens doors for us to actually talk to mostly anybody in the world, right? Anyone who can speak English. So it's pretty cool. So without further ado, let's start talking about our experiences with English. Let me know a little bit about you. Well, I know about you guys. We are married, so I'm going to ask her things that I already know, but you guys that are listening or watching.
Yes, we have been married for 4 years, almost 4 years.
Almost 4 years
It's
now.
going to be 4 years on September, right?
Yeah, in September.
September 15th.
Yeah. So we're going to be 4 years.
So what exactly do you want to know about me?
I want to know how.
No.
Yeah, I want to know how English got into your life, and I mean, what was the first moment that you saw that, like, hey, I want to learn this new thing?
The first contact that I remember, actually, it was when I was very little, and my dad, he really enjoyed listening to music. Christian music, gospel music from Australia, from a band called Hillsong. Maybe you're familiar with this. And he bought a DVD, something like that.
For you that don't know what is a DVD, it used to be a disc, right? Where we would put in a little device, which is a DVD.
It's like a
player.
CD, but...
Don't go with CD.
It's a CD that has also image and video.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's kind of obvious for us. But anyways, so my dad bought a DVD from Hillsong Australia and he put it on the TV. So they started singing and I was like, what is that? What is going on? And I had the lyrics, of the songs, but I had no idea what they were saying. So that's the first contact that I remember having of English, but and I wanted to understand the songs. And I remember my father singing the songs. He had been to an exchange program when
that's a story.
he went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's so random. Like, it is so weird that my father, my dad went to, he has been to an exchange program when he was like a young person, and he has been to Hawaii. I think this is so funny because when I look to it, I just don't imagine, It's crazy.
My father-in-law is the youngest person I know.
Yeah, like he has a very young soul.
Yeah.
And he's like more excited about life, about everything than both of us together.
Yeah.
So he went to this program. He talked about it with me and my brother.
How old were you guys when he went?
I think I wasn't even born when he did this, but my brother probably was very little, I guess.
And it was like a month, right?
Yeah, it was like 30 days, something like that. And I remember watching a cassette of my dad in Honolulu. I think this is a city from Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I remember the ladies dancing like this,
The ula ula?
Ula ula,
I don't
yes.
know if that's what's called in English.
Anyways, and I remember he talking about the waves, the sea, the ocean, how dangerous it is. Anyway, so that was kind of a very interesting experience. Also with the DVD thing that happened. And I remember that I have always liked to sing. And I watched a movie, a very teenage movie called Camp Rock and High School Musical, and I really wanted to understand the lyrics and to sing along. So I kind of studied by myself and started to be really passionate about the language.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That I think both of our stories with English started kind of the same way, which is related to culture, related to something that we wanted to have access to that was not only in our language.
Yes.
It's important to say, I don't remember if I said it in the beginning, we are talking to you from Brazil. So I don't know if people from around the world are familiar with our accents, right?
Yeah, I think we try to imitate the American accent, but I don't know. Maybe the Americans don't think this sounds American. So I don't know, because we have like the melody of the Portuguese. We have a different emotion when we speak. So I don't know. We have like the word English.
Yeah.
World English.
So if you're listening to this and English is your first language, remember that English is not our first language. It's a second language, right? And it's crazy because I always tell this story especially in our profile on Instagram, talking about our course, that I started learning English because I wanted to fool my mom, right? Yeah. Because I come from a Christian background where
a very traditional background.
Where there was this division with with gospel songs and secular songs. And my mom didn't appreciate that we didn't listen to not gospel songs. But of course, this was one of the ways that I went to learn English. But I remember that when I was little, I hated to read subtitles.
But it is annoying.
Yeah,
you have to get your attention divided.
Yeah, because because you were watching something, and like today as a grown up, for me, spending my whole life doing that, this is kind of automatic. Even if even speaking English, if there's a subtitle, I'm going to automatically read it. It's really hard for my brain to not look up and down all the time on the screen. And I also didn't appreciate the the dubbing. I think that's what you call
Yeah.
when people take the voices and translate it to Portuguese with Brazilian actors. Even though Brazilian dubbing is very good, especially for animated movies. It's one of the best of the world, one of the best of the world. But even though I didn't really appreciate it, and nowadays I don't like to watch dubbed stuff. I
Yeah,
prefer to
but
watch
animated
its
movies it's
original.
okay because we don't have like real people talking. It's like animated stuff, so
Yeah,
it's
it's real
it's
people talking. It's not real
real
people
people like
appearing on screen,
yeah,
right?
that's what I meant. And sometimes when we see documentaries, it's not like it's
Yeah,
not good.
yeah.
It's just funny. It's hilarious.
Yeah, this is crazy because this is only Brazilian people will understand this because we have so many jokes about people
Dubbing
dubbing
document.
documentaries
Yes.
and like
It's
it's a
crazy.
whole line of comedy here in Brazil, guys. You gotta yeah.
Yeah,
And
but when it comes to animated series or movies, it is really good.
yeah,
We like to watch. I mean, we married couple.
yeah,
We like to watch animated movies in Portuguese because it's really nice, right?
yeah. Actually, we watch more in English. So,
No,
right?
no, I don't think so. I don't remember watching animated stuff in English. I guess.
We watched Spider Verse in English. We
Yeah, but it
watched I
was
don't
at
know
home, so
Moana. We watched in
in
English.
Portuguese. We
No,
went
in
to the
English.
movies. Well, every time we go to the movies, we don't have the option of like choosing the English version because we don't have it. You know.
Yeah, but I don't know the Moana songs in Portuguese. I know them in English because of the movie in English. It's The Rock speaking in the
No, yeah, I know, but we went to the movies, and every time we go see a movie that's animated, we see it in Portuguese because we don't have other option.
oh yeah, guys. And this is if you're listening to this stuff. This is our dog Ray. If you're watching the video, maybe you can see her. She's
Trying to make
yeah,
herself comfortable
comfortable. Yeah.
in her bed, and now she's
Yeah, she's quiet down
yeah.
now. But anyways, yeah, I think it was this. And when I said that I started learning English to fool my mom is because if she didn't get the lyrics, she wouldn't be annoyed with me listening to them. So I started listening. And this was the beginning of as I was a kid. So this was the beginning of the internet, and I would download songs in English, right? With Napster and other apps that changed the whole game. And I would download songs from the Beatles, from I don't know, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, and also Christian bands because it's not that I hated Christian music or gospel songs,
You
but
just didn't
I
want
want
it to be limited.
yeah, I wanted to just expand the boundaries
Yes.
of music, you know. And it was fun because this idea well, and it's fun because I'm saying that I did this to fool my mom, but then again it was her fault because at the age of I don't know 8, I think 8 or 9, she enrolled my brother and I into an English school so we would understand things and she wouldn't, right? And it was different from for you because you've never been to an English school, right?
Yeah,
You
I've
just
never
had English in school, which in Brazil is not something that
Like,
it's good. You don't learn
amazing.
anything in
Yeah,
school.
but in my case, I had the opportunity to study my whole life in in private schools, not because my family was rich, but because my dad and my mom made us study really hard and pass the scholarship test, you know. So we always had the opportunity to go to these private schools where it's supposedly better when you have to learn a second language. It could be Spanish or English. And of course, I always wanted to learn English. I don't even like Spanish. I'm sorry. But yeah, I tried to learn everything that I could from school. but I feel like it was not super advanced. It was always basic, always intermediate, never advanced, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And okay, you said that the first contact you had was with the songs from Hillsong. But what was the first time that you started like learning something? Was it in school, or did you try to do it anything by yourself, learning by yourself?
I think the first contact learning was in school, but I really liked, studying English, so I would grab the books, the materials, and study by myself, even though the teachers, the professors didn't even go through the all the pages, So I would study everything because I really wanted to communicate well in English. Since I was a kid, I remember doing that. I remember studying how to say about the forecast, the weather forecast, only in the books, because my school never got to this to these lessons,
Yeah.
So that was really that was me trying to be passionate and trying to be like proactive about this learning.
Yeah, it's crazy because in Brazil, like schools are not very good at teaching English. I taught, because in Brazil, guys, we are saying here, in Brazil you have the regular schools, right? Or it can be public or private.
Private, yeah.
Right, but it's like the standard.
We have all the subjects like mathematics, Portuguese.
School that everybody has to
regular
go
school.
to. Yeah, but we have language schools which are specialized in teaching other languages, right? But in the standard school, we although we have English, and some schools, like you said, you have Spanish. We don't learn how to speak. We just learn a few things of grammar, and not very deep.
It is like the verb to be every year.
Yeah, they teach the same thing all over and over again.
Because
so
it's like understandable, because it is usually a class of like 50 guys, 50 students. So it is kind of impossible to have a conversation class. There are students that are just not there. They just can't speak in English. So there's no way they could like pull a conversation class.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was crazy because by the time I got to high school, I was already fluent in English, and most people in my class didn't speak English at all. So I would ace all my English tests without even. I'm not a good example of a guy who goes to school really well, but I didn't pay attention to class. I would skip classes all the time, but I would still get an A because I already knew English, right? But because I learned in a school, and after a while by myself, I started studying by myself and things like that. Yeah, but we just talked about a little bit how we started learning English. Now I'm going to go into a subject that is what English has provided to us as two Brazilians that had the privilege, the opportunity to learn, to have parents that really thought that this was important. And they helped us at some point. After a while, you had conversation classes with the teacher. Yeah. Those things were all provided by our parents, and we are very thankful to them.
My parents are very passionate about English too. My dad always loved America. Sometimes I get really, like, it's a pet peeve that I don't think America is just the USA, because, well, it's not.
It's not what she thinks, guys. It's real. If you guys are listening to us from the United States, America is not only the USA.
Yeah, and when you guys say America, it's a it's not insulting because I don't feel insulted or
Yeah.
nor offended, but it's a little annoying, you know,
Yeah.
because it sounds like you guys think America it's all about your
Yeah.
all about you, and it's not. So America, it's a very large continent that has like North America, Central America, and South America. So a little bit of geography. Anyways, I forgot what I was talking about.
I said that you had private classes, conversation classes with.
Yeah, so my dad he really loves America. In fact, he's living there right now.
The US.
In the US, yes, in the US, correct. And he had the exchange program a while ago, like a long time ago. So he was always open to learn English, to communicate well. Anyways, so he decided to have conversation classes for me, my brother, my mom, and him. So we had like 2 or 3 months with a British teacher, a professor, and it was really fun because I guess it was the first contact that I have with the native speaker from, England. So it was really fun. It was really
Oh, she was British.
exciting. Yeah, he was British.
I don't think you have ever told me that she was British.
His name is Terry. I was trying to remember. His name is Terry.
He or her?
He.
Okay.
And my family is 4 people, and each one of us was in a different level. Mm-hmm. So we tried to organize to make some dynamics with this conversation classes. It was fun after all, but I don't think I learned a lot because it was like 4 different levels,
Mm-hmm.
But it was really nice to have contact with a British speaker. And I learned, for example, something that I learned that I never forgot is that when he says basically, I thought he was saying something about bike, like riding a bike, because he says like basically. And I was like, what is that? Every time, all the time he's saying basically, and I can't even understand what. And that was like 4 or 5 classes with the teacher saying basically, and I was like, man, I don't understand what this guy's saying.
And he didn't speak a word in Portuguese, or?
No, it was total like,
okay.
He didn't speak anything in Portuguese, only like obrigado, which is like thank you,
Yeah, well, that's crazy. That's and speaking of British, there is a pretty cool thing that you and me talking about us, we are very into is accents, right? We really love accents, and hearing lots of people from all around the world, because that's the cool thing about English, right? We have people from all over the world speaking English, and each place has its own characteristics. Unfortunately, in Brazil, there is a culture of people being afraid of speaking, right? And as I said, it's not our first language, and we have to make an effort, right? I used to when I was younger, before my 30s, which now I'm 31. But I used to have this idea that because I love speaking English, so I would say, I want to speak this all day. So I used to teach English in a school. I taught English for about 8 years, and in the school all the teachers between ourselves, we would speak English, right? It was partly because we liked it, we were supposed to have fun with it, and partly because it was like a technique for the students to get curious, and after a while the students would start understanding us. So it was a way to make them see their own evolution with the language, and it was fun because in the beginning, like in the first books, the students would be like looking at us and they didn't understand anything, but with some time, like they would start interacting with us, and it was really fun. But then today I still like speaking English, but it doesn't come as, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, but it doesn't come as fast as natural as it used to be, especially because we live in Brazil. We don't speak English
but
all day,
I believe
right?
this is not because you're getting older, but because you're not working in a place where you're supposed to talk in English all the time. Right now we work in Brazil, and you have a Brazilian wife, so we talk in Portuguese all the time. Maybe if we move to the US or to Canada or to another English speaking, how can I say?
English speaking country.
English speaking country. That's it. Maybe we can start having these conversations in a more natural way.
Yeah. But anyways, accents. We have some favorite accents, right?
Yeah,
What's your favorite accent?
I love the British accent. Sometimes I try to imitate. Felipe thinks it's a little, ugly.
I never said it.
Or ugly. Funny. I don't think it's funny. I think it's absolutely amazing. Maybe if you're British and you're listening to me, maybe you're like, well, poor girl. But it's really fun. So we don't speak English like naturally in Brazil. So we tend to copy what we listen. So I listen more to the American accent, but I absolutely am like a super fan of the British one.
Yeah. Is there what's the accent you have most difficult with understanding?
The New Zealand accent. It's really hard for me. It's like another language,
Yeah, and there was an accent that we recently got in touch with that it wasn't very common for us, which is from people from Africa, right?
Yes, especially from Uganda and Sudão do Sul. I don't know how to say that.
South
Sudan.
South Sudan. Yeah, is that it? Yeah.
I forgot to Google how do you say this country in English. But anyways, their accent is really different. Like I don't think I've ever listened to that before. And they say like a different intonation. They have a different sound for some vowels. For example, there was this little girl and she said at work, like at work. And I was like, what the hell is work? And after a while you start to open your ears a little bit more, but it was really different.
Yeah. And it's good. It's cool because it's not that the person is speaking a word wrong, but it's the way that, because like we said, people that do not speak, and even people that speak English as a native language from different parts of the world, we develop different sounds throughout our lives, right? So we have some difficulties as Brazilians. We have some difficulties with some specific sounds in English, right? Like the TH sound. When I'm teaching this sound to older people, it's really hard for them to get because we don't have the TH in Portuguese. There is no word that has this sound. So it's complicated for them to get, right? So they use a different approach to it. As much as we try to tell them, no, you're supposed to put your tongue between your teeth, and there is a vibrated sound and the one that where you blow. But sometimes it's hard for people, and that's fine. So they find a way that they're going to sound
more natural.
More natural. And the idea is to be understood, right?
Yeah, the whole point of studying another language is not to imitate or to copy the way some people say it. Like, I want to say exactly like the Americans or the British people. That's not the point. The point is to make a connection with somebody and to be understood. So it's like you say something, you understand it, and then you say something back. This is the whole point of communication.
Yeah. And it's funny because we as Brazilians, every time we see someone trying to speak Portuguese, we are so welcoming, right? We think it's cute. We think it's because it's a very hard language.
It is a hard language, not as hard as Deutsche, German, but it's hard.
So why don't we, I don't know, feel that
The other way
the
around.
other way around, you know, because whenever we speak to English native speakers, for example, we have friends that are English native speakers, and when we go to them and we say, "Oh, my English is not very good," there was never a time where someone said that, and I heard the English-speaking native saying, "Yeah, that's not good." No,
Yeah, they never say that.
they always say, "Come on, man, this is your second language. You sound great, right?"
Yeah. This is something like a myth from Brazilian minds.
Yeah.
Brazilians used to think they have to be perfect. They
Yeah.
have to sound perfect exactly like Americans, especially the American, because this is where we consume like movies, podcasts, I don't know, everything culturally. So Brazilians think we have to sound perfectly like them. And that's like a myth. We are
Yeah.
not supposed to sound like anybody. We're just supposed to communicate.
Yeah, I want to hear, by the way, I want to hear people commenting. If you're listening to us and English is not your first language, like, for example, someone who speaks Spanish as a first language, or someone who speaks German or Italian, right? And speaks English also, comment here on YouTube or on our Instagram, which is at CoffeeX in English. Tell us a little bit about how people in your country feel about their accents, if they are a little bit like us, because we have this I don't know if we could call it like a there is an expression that in Portuguese, I'm going to say it in Portuguese and try to explain in English, but it's síndrome de vira-lata, which is like an underdog syndrome. Which
like
we
a
think,
complex of inferiority.
yeah, perfect. That's it. That we have to achieve perfection
Yes.
in order to
sound
speak,
like American.
right? Yeah.
Brazilians really want to sound like
Yeah.
American, and we don't see other cultures, other nations trying to sound like American or British. For example, I talked a little bit about this in another situation that I don't remember right now. It was in a class, I remembered, and when you see a German person talking in English, you're not going to see this person trying to sound like more natural, to trying to be the perfect accent, trying to imitate perfectly the American accent. When you see an Italian person speaking English, you clearly can hear
Yeah.
the melody of Italian behind the voice.
Yeah.
And the same for all other languages, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you are listening to us or watching us and you are Brazilian, please don't come in the comments and criticize our English. This is not the point, okay?
Yeah, it's not. And we're getting to the end of the episode here, but I would like to talk a little bit about what was the first time that you felt like you were fluent, like the first time that
Wow.
you felt like, hey, I can really speak, I can really understand. Do you remember when that was?
Maybe. I think not exactly just one time, but I think it was like a process of my heart beating really fast when I'm talking to a gringo or a native speaker from a English-speaking country. I remember that I took some conversation classes with another teacher, and this one was a lady from the US, from Wisconsin. And then when I was having these classes, my heart used to beat like really fast because I got really nervous. But at the end, I felt like a huge difference in my English. So maybe this was a very important. I forgot the word for
Milestone.
Milestone. That's the word.
Yeah.
That was a very important milestone for me. But also, my church in my city received a group of missionaries from Wisconsin again. It was a coincidence. And then I and another group of younglings. We were supposed to welcome this group, we're supposed to translate to the church, to the other people that didn't speak English. So it was like the first time that I was like, wow, I can't speak. I'm not super fluent, but I can like develop conversation and keep it working for at least 5 minutes. So I felt really important and I felt a little special, you know, because I can communicate while other people can't. And I remember the last episode and the most recent one was when we, both of us, translated a 3-day seminar from a couple from Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
And
Mary and Dave, if you're listening or watching this, we miss you guys.
Yes, we love you guys. So when we translated that, I was like, I can't do this. I really can't. I have never translated anything like in my life. Simultaneous translation is extremely hard. It's extremely hard. And especially if you are in front of a giant crowd looking at you, you feel really vulnerable. But after that, I was like, I can do anything.
After that, we feel like we can do anything.
Exactly. Right? I feel like, I'm fluent. There's nothing I cannot do about English because I could translate a 3-day freaking seminar, you know, and people really did understand the message.
Yeah. And that's pretty cool. That's, I think I had experiences with simultaneous translation before, but that was
the longest
and the hardest, like you said,
because it was really long.
And it's because of what you said, like there was a lot of people counting on the truth of what we were translating, so we couldn't get
and we know we were doing a good job, not because we were the only guy. We were not the only guys who spoke English, you know. So there was this another couple who invited us, and they didn't want to be involved in translation because they had to do other stuff in the seminar.
They were in charge of administrating the whole seminar, so,
and they couldn't translate and do everything else. So they kind of asked us, and we said yes. So they did not like complain about anything. And we are sure that we did a good job because we know the language. It is hard because we have to remember the hardest thing about translating simultaneously is that you have to remember the line. It's not translating that's hard. It's remember everything that was said in the line. So it was like a huge challenge. But after that, we felt empowered.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. I think that was the most challenging English experience that we've had. And we've traveled a little bit. And we encountered places where we had to speak English. But I don't think there was ever a situation in our trips that I felt, I can't understand anything, or this is going to be bad because I couldn't understand.
I just remembered another episode of my heart beating fast when like an English situation happened. It was the first time that I went to the US. I went to Disneyland with my family. Brazilians go to the Florida Disneyland because it's closer.
Orlando is
it's
Brazilian people.
It's a Brazilian city or a Mexican city. I don't know. It's Latino city. And for the record, I didn't even know there was another Disneyland in Anaheim. So I got this information like 2 days ago.
Yeah, the Disneyland for Americans, right? Yes. Americans don't go to Orlando. Yeah.
So I remember in 2013 when my family and I went to the Disneyland from Orlando, and the guy, the guy who was working on Disney, he asked a question to my family, and we were like, what? And then he said it again, and we were like, what? Can you repeat, please? And then for the third time, I finally got it. And he was asking, are you here for the parade? And I was like, are you, what? And then are you here for the parade? Parade. I know what is a parade. And then I answered him like, yes. And then, thank you.
So what was the parade?
It's like the
was
castle.
Like a Disney parade? Oh, okay.
The one in front of the giant castle. You know?
Okay.
The Magic Kingdom one. So I remember to this day because it was like a very exciting moment for me. of understanding, you know.
Yeah. That's good. That's pretty cool.
And I believe everybody that's trying to improve their English or, anyways, a second language will always have these moments of like highs and lows.
Yeah,
Especially the
totally.
highs you're going to remember really bad. And because this is like part of your evolution, and it's like a really fun memory to have.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's it. Do you feel like this is a cool? This was a cool episode.
You're asking me? Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
We had a very stressful day
Yeah.
today. So this episode coming right now, it was like perfect. It was the perfect silver lining for the day. And I'm really glad. I don't even remember what I was mad about.
Yeah, see, that's just having a nice conversation
Yeah.
and relax a little bit. It's
like
good.
a therapy, you know?
Yeah.
Talking.
That's
about
why I
other
love
things.
doing podcasts, right? Now you understand why I've been doing this since
Yeah,
don't know,
I
almost
understand.
10 years.
I understand now why you're so happy. You are so happy.
Yeah?
Yeah, because like you have like this therapy all the time. You can talk about stuff. You can get things off your chest.
That's
Not
true.
necessarily talking about the problems themselves, but talking
Talking,
about
yeah.
talking
Yeah.
to somebody else.
Communicating. Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, guys, that's it. This was the first episode of CoffeeX in English. I want to encourage you to follow us on @CoffeeX in English on Instagram. And we're going to be active there. I'm going to try to make this podcast a weekly episode, but not from the start. I'm going to start as with 2 episodes every month because I'm going to record a few of them so I can like in advance so I can have some of them to release throughout the weeks. But yeah, follow us and like us if you are watching us on YouTube. Rate us on your podcast app. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Deezer or whatever it is, if there is a way to rate us, please do. And share this with other people. If you are not Brazilian, if you're from other country, give us a shout out on the comments. We would love to meet you guys. And I want to meet especially people from other countries because I want to bring them to talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, I want to interview people
You want to
from
connect with people.
all over the world. Yeah.
Yeah, this is why English is so cool because we can communicate with everyone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So thank you very much. Cheers to the first sip of CoffeeX.
Yes, in English.
Yeah, CoffeeX in English. And I am Felipe Xavier. I'm here with my wife.
Paula Xavier.
And I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.